Hey there, friend. I'm honestly so happy you're here watching this video, and if you feel like subscribing to the channel, that would seriously mean a lot to me. Let's get into it. Carter Hayes wasn't the kind of guy to raise a fuss. At 29, he managed construction projects with quiet grit, keeping things moving despite botched deliveries, irate subcontractors, and blueprints that never quite lined up with reality. His world revolved around function, not appearance. His boots bore permanent layers of dried earth, his alarms rang long before sunrise, and his coffee tasted like it came from a gas station. Nothing glamorous, but it was honest work, and it was his life. His wife, Sierra, was his opposite in every visible way. She was 27, polished and eloquent, with a marketing degree she wielded like a high-end accessory, seamless, intentional, and effective. She was a force in branding, able to take dull cafe menus and spin them into digital masterpieces. Carter admired her ambition. He loved her boldness, while he kept grounded. But then, around 2 months before everything crumbled, one name began surfacing more and more in their conversations. "Griffin mentioned this today," she'd say casually. Or, "Griffin gave feedback on the brewery launch." Always Griffin, never a last name. At first, Carter didn't think much of it. He understood how corporate circles worked. Tight schedules, constant collaboration, and those never-ending email threads. But before long, Sierra came home charged with a new kind of energy. Her eyes lit up when she spoke, her tone more animated than usual. One evening, glass of red wine in hand, she said, "Griffin really understands the direction marketing is heading. He's brilliant." Carter chuckled, brushing it off. But deep inside, her words stirred something cold, something he tried to ignore, until the conference came up. "They're sending us to the Coastal Creative Summit in Miami," she said over dinner one night. "Griffin thinks it'll be a great chance to grow." He raised an eyebrow. "Miami?" She nodded, already halfway packed in her mind. "It's 3 days. Panels, networking, new strategies. It's a big deal." He kept his expression neutral. "Sounds important," he said between bites of microwaved lasagna. "And there's talk I might be considered for a senior strategist role afterward," she added, practically glowing with excitement. The night before her flight, Carter helped her gather her things. But the clothes she laid on the bed didn't exactly scream professional development. Bright dresses, resort wear, sandals meant for strolls in the sun, and a neon crop top with the price tag still dangling. Then he noticed a light blue sundress with delicate straps and a plunging back. One he didn't recognize. One she'd never worn around him. "You really need this for a business trip?" he asked, holding it like it was foreign. Without looking up, she replied, "There are social events by the pool. It's Miami. I want to have a little fun." He didn't argue, but a quiet ache settled in his chest, and stayed there. She left early Friday morning, kissed him in the kitchen, promised to message when she landed, told him she'd learned so much. That would be the last normal moment of his life. By Saturday afternoon, Carter was in the backyard, elbow deep in dirt, fixing a section of their old fence, keeping his hands busy. Then came a phone buzz, Instagram notification. He opened it, expecting a shot from a conference hall or maybe a tired smile with co-workers. But what he saw broke him. There was Sierra, in that same blue dress, standing beside a man on a balcony by the ocean. Sunset poured gold across their faces. Her grin was effortless, like she hadn't known sadness in years. The man had his hand resting on her hip, comfortably, like it belonged there. Carter's thumb lingered on the screen. The caption read, "Finally found my adventure partner. The man, Griffin Tate." Anger didn't hit like a storm. It crept in slowly, like frost spreading through stone. He pulled up their joint bank account. $1,180. Airfare to Miami. 904 ballers. O Sandstone Resort and Spa, King Suite. $341. Dinner at Ocean Blue Grill. $168, Beach Bar South Lounge. $92, cocktails labeled lime and smoke on a rooftop menu. Every entry screamed betrayal, and none of it had been charged to her company, not even to her own account. She had drained their shared savings, the money they'd set aside, for a new truck, maybe a future child. She spent it all with Griffin. Still dusty from the yard, Carter dialed the resort. A pleasant voice answered. "Yes," the receptionist confirmed. "Sierra Hayes, 2 guests, king bed, ocean view." He didn't shout, didn't plead. He simply said, "No changes, thank you," and hung up. Carter wasn't the type to break things when angry. He acted with purpose. And now he had a reason. That night, he didn't sleep. He didn't pace or scream. He just sat at the kitchen table, staring into the dimness. The same table where Sierra once shared office gossip and future plans. Now it felt like a tombstone. That dress replayed over and over in his mind. That photo, that caption, "Finally found my adventure partner." It wasn't accidental. It wasn't ambiguous. It was a message. By dawn, he was pulling up every bank statement from the past 2 weeks. Each purchase another puzzle piece. Luxury boutiques, intimate dinners, tropical drinks with playful names. She had used the money he earned, hauling steel and sweat, to fund her vacation romance. But Carter didn't let emotion cloud him. He needed the full picture. He needed truth. He called Everett Jameson, his closest friend, and now a sharp by-the-book HR director, a man so fair he once reported his own cousin at work. "Everett," Carter said, voice low and measured, "I need you to take a look at something. I need your judgment." He laid everything bare. No exaggeration, no emotional flair. Just facts. A phony work trip, the beachfront photo, the misuse of their finances. Everett listened in silence, his tone unreadable. Finally, he said, "Carter, if you've got documentation, and it sounds like you do, this isn't just infidelity, this is fraud." He paused. "This could ruin her professionally." Carter exhaled. "So if I contacted her employer—" "You wouldn't be overstepping," Everett interrupted. "You'd be reporting legitimate misconduct. Just be exact. Get the receipts, screenshots, emails. Let the evidence speak for itself. You're not telling them what to think. You're showing them where to look." Carter nodded slowly. That's all I needed to know. He hung up and got to work compiling everything. First, he searched for the Coastal Creative Summit. It did exist. Real schedule, real speakers, legit sessions. But the location? Nowhere near O Sandstone Resort. The actual venue was a Hilton, downtown, miles from the beach, far from the oceanfront suite where Griffin Tate was sleeping in their bed. When Carter contacted the summit's administrative desk, the voice that answered was polite, but the message crushed the final bit of hope he'd been holding. After a short pause, the receptionist confirmed, "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have any record of a Sierra Hayes or Griffin Tate registered for this event." That was all he needed to hear. The last domino. His heart didn't break. It calcified. By midday, it had turned to stone. By then, Carter had gathered enough evidence to rival the prep work of a veteran trial attorney. He printed everything: color screenshots from Instagram, reservation confirmations for the resort, suspicious withdrawals and charges from their joint account. He sorted it all with surgical care, by date, location, and level of detail. Red ink circled every contradiction between Sierra's story and the official conference schedule. The truth was unmistakable. She'd lied to her husband, deceived her employer, and used company funds to escape with a man she called a colleague. Without stopping anywhere else, Carter drove to Vincent Dale's office, a respected divorce lawyer known for his expertise in cases involving financial misconduct. Vincent looked every bit the part. A former athlete's build, the sharpness of a seasoned analyst, and eyes that missed nothing. Carter laid the binder on the desk. "This," he said quietly, "is what she was doing while claiming she was building her career. Vincent flipped through the pages, saying nothing at first, his face unreadable but attentive. After a moment, he nodded. "This is strong, really strong." "I'm not here just to file for divorce," Carter told him. "I want it airtight. No wiggle room, no narrative she can spin." "You want this clean?" Vincent said. "Precise. No exit routes." Carter nodded. "Exactly." "What about her job?" the lawyer asked. "I'll be reaching out tonight. Her bosses should know what kind of employee they're paying for." Vincent leaned back in his chair. "Then we start now." That night, Carter wrote the email with absolute control. No emotion, no judgment, just facts, screenshots, timestamps, spending records, and proof that neither Sierra nor Griffin had ever been registered for the conference. He sent it to two company executives, Megan Holloway in HR and Damon Klein, the COO. His subject line was blunt: urgent, integrity violation, Sierra Hayes and Griffin Tate. He reviewed it 3 times before hitting send. When he did, the silence in the house shifted. It wasn't just quiet, it felt clean, like the air had finally been purged of deceit. 15 minutes later, his phone vibrated. "Sierra. Why did my boss just send me an email from you? What are you doing?" Carter didn't answer. 10 minutes after that came another message. "Griffin. Are you really trying to wreck our careers over this? That's low, man. Stay out of it." Carter blocked the number. Then the call that mattered came through. Megan Holloway's voice was calm and professional. "Mr. Hayes," she began, "we've reviewed your documentation. I want to thank you for coming forward. We take this very seriously. An internal investigation is now in motion." A pause. "Both individuals will be questioned first thing tomorrow morning." Carter said nothing, but something in him shifted. The fight hadn't started yet, but the momentum had already turned. That night, he didn't pour a drink. He didn't call anyone. He didn't even open social media. He just sat on the porch, their porch, while the trees rustled like whispers finally breaking free from behind lies. By morning, his phone was filled with missed calls, one from Sierra, then another. Finally, a message. "Sierra, we need to talk. This is getting out of control. I was going to explain everything when I got home. Please don't take it further." Griffin followed up shortly after. "Griffin, you're blowing this up way more than it needs to be. It's not what you think. Chill out." Carter didn't respond. Grace wasn't on the table anymore. He knew exactly what had happened. Now came the consequences. At 10:42 a.m., his phone rang again. No caller ID. "Megan Holloway," the voice said. "I wanted you to be informed. Our review is complete. Both employees are suspended and pending termination. They won't be returning. We'll collect their belongings on their behalf." Her tone remained steady, but Carter heard finality in it. "Your evidence left no ambiguity," he replied. "Understood." She added one last note. "I know this wasn't easy, but you did the right thing. We don't tolerate this kind of betrayal." It was done. Or so Carter thought. Later that day, without a call or text, Sierra came home. No apology, no explanation. Just the click of her key in the front door, followed by the sound of her heels crossing hardwood like she still belonged there. But Carter was already waiting, seated in the living room, the coffee table covered with evidence like a battle map. She froze. "What is all this?" she asked, eyeing the documents. "Your exit interview," Carter said. "We can skip the small talk." Her face darkened. "You really went to my employer?" "No," he replied. "I gave them the truth. What they did with it is their choice." She gave a hollow laugh, though her voice was trembling. "It was one mistake. Griffin and we got carried away. It didn't mean anything." "Funny," Carter said, "because the Instagram story, the resort bill, and the sundress you wore say otherwise." "You're twisting this," she snapped. "It was a networking trip. We talked about work." "In a king suite with one bed?" Carter shot back. "That's not networking. That's cheating, she faltered. I didn't want to hurt you. I finally felt appreciated, seen. You never noticed how hard I was trying. And you never saw how hard I was loving you, he answered. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then came the pivot, the deflection of guilt. You're being cruel, she said bitterly. You think ruining my job makes you better? No, he said, voice even. But it keeps me safe. You lit the match. I'm just making sure you don't burn anything else. Tears welled in her eyes, but Carter had seen enough in the last 48 hours to tell performance from pain. You don't even seem angry, she said. Oh, I'm furious, he replied. I'm just not giving it to you anymore. She reached into her bag. Fine, I'll get my stuff. Go ahead, Carter said, rising. The guest room's cleared, closet too. Don't go near my study. She hesitated. You moved me out of the bedroom already? No, he said. I moved you out of my life. She stood there, stunned. Carter walked past her without a glance. Lock the door when you leave. The next morning, Carter met with Vincent again. The paperwork was filed. Irreconcilable differences, backed by evidence that left no room for negotiation. As he exited the office, his phone buzzed. Griffin. Voicemail. Griffin. You think this ends with us getting fired? I know where you work. Watch your back. Carter saved the message and sent it directly to Vincent. The lawyer raised an eyebrow. That's borderline harassment. Perfect, Carter said. Let him dig the hole himself. Then another text appeared, from an unknown number. Sierra's mother. It was brief, cold, angry. You destroyed her life over one mistake. Hope it was worth it. Carter didn't write back. He didn't need to. He read the message, then wiped it from his phone without a second thought. There was no room left for errors, only decisions. Sierra had already made hers. Now, Carter was making his. By the end of that week, the locks had been changed. Every utility account was under his name, and a new bank account had been opened, one she had no access to. Whatever pieces remained of them had been stripped away, replaced entirely by him. And it felt justified. When Sierra came to collect her things, her mother trailed behind with a glare full of disdain, as if Carter had burned down generations of family pride. He didn't react. Even as Sierra staged one last emotional performance, her voice trembling, a stifled sob escaping as she lingered for effect, Carter remained unmoved. Can we just talk like grown-ups? She asked finally. He nodded toward the neatly stacked boxes. That's the only discussion left. She lingered in the doorway. You don't forgive, do you? His expression never changed. Not when betrayal wears ambition's clothes. The door shut behind her with a snap, absolute, like a judge delivering a sentence. The silence that followed was complete. But it didn't last long. The blowback came fast, message after message, call after call. First up was Sierra's father, old-fashioned, stern, convinced he knew right from wrong. He lectured Carter on the importance of loyalty and privacy, insisting that real men kept their problems in-house. He tried to shame Carter, accusing him of overreacting, of wrecking a woman's future over what he called emotional confusion. Carter said nothing for a while, but after the fourth voicemail he sent a short reply. She wasn't confused. She got caught. That's the distinction. Then came Griffin's entourage, fresh-faced, overconfident junior brand strategists who thought they were starring in a soap opera. They bombarded Carter with messages, labeling him bitter, spiteful, and emotionally weak. Carter didn't respond. Instead, he forwarded the nastiest messages to Vincent, his lawyer, who added them to the litigation file. Then the universe stepped in. Carter received a terse message from a woman named Mallory Reeves, Griffin's ex-girlfriend. She'd found him through shared contacts. I walked away the second I saw those photos. You confirmed what I always suspected. He deceived us both. Carter sent only one reply. You deserve honesty too. They never became close, but they stayed in touch long enough to trade receipts. Mallory had plenty. Griffin had made a habit of crossing lines, wooing young women under the guise of career guidance, muddying boundaries until admiration turned personal. The company had never caught on. Until now. With Sierra gone and Griffin exposed, Carter's home felt lighter. No more silent accusations over dinner. No more strategic omissions between the sheets. Just honesty. Finally. But revenge wasn't the driving force. Carter wanted resolution, fairness. He filed for divorce on the grounds of infidelity, financial dishonesty, and emotional abuse. Vincent came armed with a file so thorough it felt surgical. Records, images, timelines, itineraries, hotel bills, curated social media posts. Sierra didn't walk away quietly. She accused Carter of being cold, unsupportive, dismissive of her ambitions. During mediation, Carter stayed silent. He simply handed over the file. The mediator leafed through it slowly, blinking. Sierra flushed red and tried to spin the story. That wasn't a romantic trip. It was for work. Carter spoke for the first time. Did the clients admire your sundress? He asked, his voice calm, detached. Did the bartender at Nikki Beach help you map out branding ideas, or was that what the king-sized bed was for? She offered no reply. 2 days later, she signed the divorce agreement. No alimony, no rights to the house, no claim on joint funds. But Carter didn't stop there. He filed paperwork to shield himself from any future shared tax liabilities, citing fraud. Sierra had disguised personal trips as business deductions. If the IRS ever came knocking, he wouldn't be the one opening the door. Vincent called it clinical. You hit like someone who's built structures, he said. You knew where the stress points were and where to apply pressure. Carter didn't smile. I just wanted the truth to outweigh her fiction. On the final court date, Sierra showed up alone. No attorney, no family backup, just a dark coat and vacant eyes. She looked hollow. Carter didn't glance her way once. The judge reviewed the documents, signed the order, and declared, divorce granted. No drama, no drawn-out speeches. Just closure. A few days later, a letter came in the mail, handwritten, from Sierra. You didn't just derail my career, you reshaped how people view me. I made a mistake. But what you did, that was calculated. Maybe someday you'll realize revenge doesn't heal. It hardens. Carter read it twice, then tossed it into the backyard fire pit and watched the flames consume her final words. He didn't need her reflections. He had facts. He had peace. Most importantly, he had himself again. The months that followed were still, but not the kind of stillness that hurts. It was clarity, simplicity, truth. Carter returned to his routines. Sunrises, worn boots, laughter at job sites, coffee in thermoses. But something inside had shifted permanently. He wasn't just recovering, he was rebuilding, not only structures and homes, but faith in his own discernment. Sierra's name was rarely mentioned now. When it did come up, it was an afterthought. People understood. Some offered kind words. A few called him ruthless. Carter didn't argue. She knew exactly what she was doing, was all he ever said. Griffin's downfall wasn't far behind. Word spread. No firm would touch him. His once promising career dissolved into occasional freelance gigs from a cramped apartment. Mallory had cut ties completely. Last Carter heard, Griffin had moved back in with his brother in Akron. Sierra's situation wasn't much better. Just one reference call from her old employer was enough to derail any opportunity. Eventually, she took a part-time job at a boutique downtown, folding silk scarves, scanning inventory, pretending not to see former colleagues shopping on their breaks. She reached out once more. I'm not who I was, the message said. I see clearly now. I just wanted you to know. Carter never responded. He wasn't interested in watching her redemption story unfold, not after she dismantled the version of herself he had once believed in. Instead, he poured himself into the life still standing. He booked those trips he'd always postponed, repaired the deck by hand, sanded and stained the floors, finally swapped the old pickup for something quieter, something steady. One night, with low music and the window open, he stood in the kitchen sipping bourbon, staring at the fire pit outside. That was where her letter had turned to smoke. That was where the falsehoods ended. Now, it was just ashes. No more excuses. No more lies. Only truth. And stillness. He hadn't ruined her life out of spite. He had revealed it, to reclaim his own. And real justice doesn't need applause. It doesn't chase attention. It simply completes the work.